that accessory looks expensive because it's good, or does it just look good because it's expensive? You're standing in a store. Or maybe you're scrolling through a website at midnight. There's a wallet on the screen, full leather exterior. Logo embossed on the front, clean stitching. At least from the product photo, the price says $350. And somewhere in the back of your brain, you feel it, that quiet pull that says this is what a serious man carries. So you buy it, and then 6 months later, the edges start to peel, not crack, peel, like paint on a wall. Because that's what bonded leather does. It's not really leather, it's leather dust pressed into a sheet with polyurethane, and it mimics the surface of real leather just long enough to get you out of the return window. You paid $350 for something with a cost of goods somewhere around $15, the rest. That was logo, that was the store on Fifth Avenue, that was the celebrity who wore it in a campaign photo. That was the box it came in, and today we're going through the entire world of men's accessories. Wallets, belts, sunglasses, watches, bags, briefcases. And we're gonna break down exactly where your money actually goes when you buy in this category.
We'll expose 6 categories of deception that the industry runs on, and then we'll give you 5 brands that actually justify what they charge.
By the end of this video, you will never look at an accessory the same way again. That's not a promise from a reviewer. That's just what happens when you learn to read materials instead of logos. But let's start with the one truth that explains everything else. Men's accessories are the highest margin category in fashion. Higher than clothing, higher than shoes. Think about why that is. A wallet is small, the raw material is minimal, the manufacturing is relatively simple, the shipping cost is low. But the emotional value, the status signal, the idea of refinement, the feeling of carrying something serious, that emotional value is enormous. And brands price to emotion, not to material. A shirt costs $100 because it has fabric, cut, buttons, labor, and logistics. A wallet costs $300 because it has the same factory cost as the $20 version, plus a name. The name does more lifting than anything else in that product. That's the system, and it operates across every category we're about to look at. Here's the framework we'll use throughout this entire video. One question, that's it. Where is the price actually coming from? Is it coming from the material, the leather, the metal, the construction, the stitching, the hardware, or is it coming from the logo, the distribution, the marketing budget, the celebrity licensing deal, the lease on the flagship store in a city you don't live in? When you can answer that question honestly, you can make a smarter decision every single time. So let's train that muscle right now. Category by category, wallets and belts. This is where the leather industry runs its most successful deception. Walk into any department store and pick up a wallet described as genuine leather. Read that label carefully. Genuine leather is a real term, and it sounds like it means the best leather. It means the opposite. It's the lowest grade of real leather that can still legally be called leather, but it's the scraps, the bottom splits. The factory floor material that would otherwise be discarded, bonded together with adhesive and coated with a thin surface layer to look smooth and presentable. It looks fine in the store, it feels fine in the store, but leather, real leather, develops character over time. It takes on the shape of your pocket, it softens, it ages. Genuine leather and bonded leather don't age. They deteriorate, the coating peels, the structure collapses, the edges delaminate. You don't end up with a worn-in wallet. You end up with a broken one. Now here's where it gets sharp. Some brands charge luxury prices for this. Not fast fashion brands, actual heritage branded fashion houses with massive logos and beautiful stores and gorgeous packaging. You open the box and it feels like an event, and you look at the inside and the lining is polyester. You look at the edge and it's painted, not burnished. You look at the leather and it's top grain at best.
Meaning it's been sanded down to remove any natural imperfections and then coated to look uniform It's not lying to you about being leather.
But it's not telling you the full story either. Full-grain leather is the real thing. It's the outermost layer of the hide.
Untouched by sanding or buffing, it has natural markings, it's not perfectly uniform, it develops a patina over years of use. It gets better. A full-grain leather wallet at $80 will outlast a bonded leather wallet at $400 every single time. Belts follow the same logic with one added trick. Brands know that belts are visible accessories, so they invest in the buckle. The part you can see, the buckle looks heavy, branded, luxurious, the strap looks clean, but you pick it up and it feels hollow. The leather is thin, the layers separate, the buckle hardware is pot metal with a plating that wears off in a year. And the price is sitting at $150 to $250, you're buying the part that breaks. The part that costs the least to make looks the best on the shelf. A well-constructed belt uses a thick, single-piece full-grain strap, solid brass or nickel-plated brass hardware, hand-beveled edges, proper stitching with wax thread, and construction designed to age.
That belt can last a decade. Most of what you see in department stores can't make it 3 years. And now we move to sunglasses.
And this is where the margin becomes something close to insulting. You probably already know the name Luxottica.
If not, here's the short version. One company controls the manufacturing, licensing, or distribution of most of the major eyewear brands in the world.
Ray-Ban, Oakley, Prada Eyewear, Versace Eyewear, Coach, Ralph Lauren, Armani, Burberry, Bulgari, Chanel, Michael Kors, the list goes on.
That's not a conspiracy theory, that's just market consolidation, and it's been documented publicly what this means in practice.
Is that a pair of frames with a designer logo and a pair of frames from a house brand at the same manufacturer may share significant production similarities, but they sell at dramatically different prices because the license to put that logo on a frame costs money.
And that cost is passed directly to you. The markup on eyewear is estimated to be among the highest in the consumer goods industry. Some analysts have put it at 300 to 400% over production cost on the low end.
Actual luxury performance eyewear, acetate, titanium, hand-finished hinges, spring mechanisms that last, those do cost more to make. But most designer sunglasses you see at $200 to $600 at a department store aren't performance eyewear. They're fashion accessories that happen to block light. Here's what you should look for. Acetate is better than injected plastic. You can usually tell because acetate is slightly thicker, has more depth of color, and is cut rather than molded. Metal frames should feel solid, not hollow. Hinges should move smoothly and snap shut cleanly. Spring hinges that click with resistance are significantly better than cheap barrel hinges that loosen within months. And lenses, the actual lenses, should have polarization that holds up.
Not cheap coatings that scratch in a season. The price of frames has almost nothing to do with lens quality. You can buy excellent lenses separately and fit them into frames of your choice. Most people don't know that. What you're buying at the high end in fashion eyewear is mostly the name, and the name is priced to make you feel.
Like you're buying precision engineering, you're usually buying a licensing fee. Watches, let's do this carefully because the watch world is vast.
And the deceptions vary by price range. There are two kinds of overpriced watches, and they operate very differently.
The first kind is the fashion watch. This is a watch branded primarily by a fashion house or lifestyle brand, not a watchmaker.
Think Armani Exchange, Fossil's Fashion Tier, Michael Kors, Hugo Boss at their most basic level. These watches are designed to look like watches that serious people wear. The case design echoes luxury sports watches. The branding is prominent. The price is between
$150 and $400. And inside that case is a movement, the mechanical heart of the watch,
that costs a few dollars and will not be serviced or repaired. When it fails, the watch is disposable. You're not buying a watch, you're buying the aesthetic of a watch, and at $250, you're paying significantly more.
Then the object's useful life justifies. The second kind is more interesting. This is the mid-range watch positioned as entry luxury. between $500 and $2,000 from brands that invoke heritage, Swiss origins, and sophisticated design. Some of these are genuinely good watches. Some are selling you a story about watchmaking while using movements, cases, and finishing at quality levels that don't justify the price.
Here's the core distinction. A watch's value comes from three things: the movement, the finishing, and the longevity.
A movement from ETA or Solita, Swiss-made, well-regarded Porsche manufacturers, is respectable and serviceable. A watch built around one of those movements,
With clean finishing, a proper case back, solid lugs, and a brand that supports servicing over decades is a real watch.
a watch with a Miyota movement, Japanese-made, reliable, far less expensive, can also be a real watch if it's priced appropriately, and the case quality reflects honest construction. What's not a real watch is a $200 fashion piece selling you Italian lifestyle. With a Chinese quartz movement and chrome-plated zinc case, it looks identical to something costing much more. It will not behave identically over time. The rule here is simple. If a brand spends more on its advertising than on its movement quality, you're buying marketing. Every glossy magazine page, every Instagram partnership, every boutique in an airport, someone paid for that, and that someone is you on every purchase. Bags, briefcases, and backpacks, this is where men most consistently overpay for logo and most consistently undervalue engineering. A leather briefcase from a fashion house at $800 to $1,200 looks extraordinary. The leather is smooth, the stitching is precise in the product photo, the hardware is branded, you carry it into a meeting, and it signals something. It signals that you've arrived, that's what it's designed to do, but look at the zipper. Is it YKK or Riri? The premium zipper manufacturers that signal genuine investment in hardware, or is it a generic branded zipper with the logo stamped on the pull? Look at the interior. Is it a quality fabric, properly glued and stitched at the seam, or does it start to separate? From the shell in the corners after 18 months of daily use, look at the handles. Are they stitched with waxed linen or saddle stitched by hand? Or are they glued on with a single row of decorative stitching that looks good but won't hold under weight over time?
These questions are not academic. A briefcase you carry every day for a decade needs to survive 10 years.
A bag that looks perfect for 2 years and falls apart in year 3 is not a premium purchase. It's a disguised disposable. Technical bags, brands built around function rather than fashion, often outperform fashion bags at every practical metric.
A backpack from a brand that has been making technical gear for mountaineers has YKK zippers, bar tack stitching at stress points,
Blue Sign certified materials, and a construction that has been stress tested. It doesn't have a fashion logo, it costs less, and it will outlast the fashion bag by years. This is the core contradiction of the bag market. The bag designed to look like it belongs to the world of premium products is often beaten on every functional metric.
By the bag designed to actually survive the world, now let's talk about what the industry does to keep you from noticing any of this.
The signals that a brand is overcharging you for construction that doesn't match the price are more consistent than you might think. These aren't tricks that only a few brands use, they're industry patterns. First, logo larger than quality. When the most prominent design decision on a product is the logo, the brand knows the logo is doing the selling. Real craftsmanship products, saddle-stitched leather goods, hand-finished watches, well-engineered bags put the design and the material first. The logo is secondary because the object itself is supposed to justify the price. Second, vague material language. Premium leather, high-quality materials, crafted with care. These are not descriptions, they are feelings. A brand that knows what it uses will tell you, full-grain vegetable tanned leather, 8 ounces, sourced from specific tanneries, finished with beeswax. A brand that doesn't tell you what it uses is hiding what it uses. Third, weight and feel don't match the price.
pick up the item. If a leather belt feels hollow, it is. If a watch case feels light, the case material is cheap.
If a bag's zipper feels loose and rattles, the hardware was not a priority. Your hands can tell you what the product page won't. Fourth, no repair, service, or warranty story. Brands that make things intended to last will tell you how to care for them, who to contact if they fail, and how long they stand behind the product. Brands that don't expect the product to last don't have a service department, If there's no answer to what happens if this breaks, the expected answer is buy another one. Fifth, heritage that's marketing rather than practice. A brand founded in 1887 can be relevant if its current production reflects the principles of that heritage. Or it can be a company that was acquired, rebranded, licensed out, and turned into a logo with a history story attached. The founding year on a label means nothing if the factory that actually made the product was opened last year. Sixth, the price jump has no material explanation when you move from a $300 watch to a $400 watch in the same brand's line, and the only visible difference is the colorway and the price. The extra $100 bought nothing but the illusion of hierarchy. Real tier differences in quality have explanations: movement upgrade, case material change, finishing improvement. If the brand can't explain why the higher model costs more,
In terms you can verify, the price difference is manufactured. These are the tells. Once you see them, you can't stop seeing them.
now the video turns. Because none of this is useful if it just makes you cynical. The point isn't to stop buying accessories.
The point is to stop buying the wrong ones. Then there are brands that do this right. Brands that charge honestly, explain what they use,
Build for longevity, and earn the price through the object rather than the branding. Here are 5 of them. The first is Saddleback Leather. If you want to understand what leather goods are supposed to be, Saddleback is the clearest argument in the market. The company uses thick, full-grain leather sourced from a specific tannery, not top grain, not genuine, full grain, untouched by buffing wheels. The pieces are designed so that every stress point is reinforced with rivets and heavy stitching. The hardware is solid brass. The construction is built to survive not years, but decades. Saddleback is famous for its 100-year warranty. That's not marketing copy. That's an engineering claim. A brand that offers a 100-year warranty is making a statement about its production choices
that no fashion brand is willing to make. Because fashion brands know the product won't survive 100 years, the pricing is honest.
A wallet from Saddleback costs between $60 and $100. A bag costs several hundred. For full-grain leather with this construction, that's proportional. Compare that to a fashion house wallet at $300 using bonded leather and a painted edge. You're not getting more product, you're getting more logo. Saddleback doesn't have flagship stores in Paris. It doesn't have celebrity ambassadors. It has a mailing list and a website and a product designed to be the last one you ever buy. That's the value proposition. The second brand is Filson. Filson has been making bags and outerwear in Seattle since 1897. The key word there isn't 1897. It's that Filson's current production still reflects that heritage in material and construction, not just in the marketing copy. Their bags use tin cloth canvas, which is a heavily waxed cotton that is waterproof, abrasion resistant, and designed to break in rather than break down.
The stitching is industrial, the hardware is heavy, the leather trim is oil tanned, meaning it's a tanning process that adds suppleness.
And water resistance alongside the standard leather qualities. The zippers are YKK Excella, among the best in the industry. A Filson briefcase or tote costs between $250 and $600 depending on model. That is not cheap.
But what you're buying is a bag that handles years of daily use and comes out looking better than it went in.
The canvas develops character, the leather darkens and softens, the bag becomes yours in a way that no smooth-coated fashion leather ever does. Filson's workforce is in Seattle, the production is domestic, the brand isn't chasing logo recognition, it's building things that work. And in the bag category, that distinction is almost everything. The third brand is Seiko. Seiko deserves its place in any honest conversation
About watches, because Seiko does something almost no other watch brand at its price point does. It manufactures its own movements in-house. At entry-level watch prices, roughly $150 to $300, you're almost universally buying a watch that contains a movement,
sourced from a third-party manufacturer and assembled into a branded case. That's not bad, but it means the brand is a case and dial designer,
Not a true watchmaker, Seiko makes movements. From the mainspring to the oscillator, Seiko engineers and manufactures the mechanical heart of its watches. In its own facilities, the result is consistent quality, deep institutional knowledge, and critically, serviceability. A Seiko mechanical watch can be serviced
and regulated for decades because the parts are available and the movement is a real mechanical object. The Seiko 5 series and the Presage line that a fashion watch at 3 times the price can't match technically, a Seiko Presage at $300 to $500 competes directly.
With Swiss watches at twice the price on movement quality, what Seiko lacks is the mythology. It doesn't have the Swiss passport. And
It doesn't have the century of auction records and collector mystique. But if your criterion is what the watch actually does,
how accurately it keeps time, how long it can run, how well it will serve you over years and decades.
Seiko is one of the most straightforward answers in the market. The fourth brand is Moscot. Eyewear is a category with enormous variation in quality,
An enormous variation in what drives the price. Moscot is a useful counterpoint to the Luxottica model for a specific reason.
but it's a family-owned brand that has been operating from New York's Lower East Side since 1915. And its frames are made in acetate rather than injected plastic at a price that is high, but not fashion house high. Moscot frames run from around $300 to $400 and $50 for optical frames and sunglasses. In the context of designer eyewear that can reach the same price or higher,
while being made in the same factories as mid-range product, Moscot's price represents something different, a genuine production story, good acetate,
quality hinge construction, and a design aesthetic that has been consistent enough to become a reference point for what a classic frame looks like.
the brand doesn't license, it doesn't put celebrity partnerships ahead of frame design. Its best-selling shapes have been in continuous production for decades. And that alone tells you something. A brand that doesn't need to reinvent its line every season because the product speaks for itself is a brand that trusts the quality of what it makes. Moscot isn't the cheapest option in well-made eyewear.
Warby Parker occupies a lower price point and does honest work for the category, but Moscot is the brand you buy when you want frames,
develop a worn-in character, and still look appropriate at a dinner table and a job interview. The design longevity is part of the value. The fifth brand is Anderson's. Anderson's is an Italian belt maker based in Brescia that has been producing belts since 1969.
This is a specialty brand, not a fashion house with a belt department, but a company that does belts and does them with a precision that justifies the price and the reputation. Anderson's belts are made with full-grain calf or vegetable tan leather, depending on the line. The stitching is clean and waxed. The brass hardware is properly weighted and finished. The edges are hand-beveled and burnished, not painted.
And critically, the belts are designed to be worn every day for years, without the sort of degradation you see in fashion belts.
Where the leather layer separates from the backing or the buckle plating wears through, a good Anderson's belt runs between $70 and
$140 in a category where fashion brands charge $200 to $400 for belts with painted edges and thin straps.
This is exceptional value. You're buying from specialists. The product reflects that. Accessories are also sold by brands like The Armory, Kent Wang, Dents & Drakes, particularly for ties, pocket squares, gloves, and small leather goods. These are brands worth knowing if your wardrobe extends into those categories. They share a common logic with the names above. The price is explained by the material and the making, not by the marketing spend. So let's close with the rule, because after everything we've just been through, there's one principle that handles every purchase decision in this category.
Before you look at the logo, identify the material. Before you look at the brand story, look at the construction.
Before you react to the price, ask whether the price is proportional to what the object actually is.
Full-grain leather ages, bonded leather deteriorates, real brass develops a patina, pot metal chips and flakes. A proper movement can be serviced for 50 years.
A fashion movement is disposable. YKK Excella zippers outlast generic hardware. Spring hinges hold adjustment longer than barrel hinges. These are not abstract claims. These are physical properties of materials, and they have consequences for how long you carry the object and how you feel about it after 3 years. The brands that hide their materials are hiding them for a reason. The brands that lead with their materials are proud of them. That asymmetry of information is your most reliable signal. You don't have to reject expensive things. Some expensive things are expensive because they're genuinely better. A Saddleback bag at $300
is a better bag than a fashion bag at $800 because the materials, construction, and longevity justify the premium over cheaper alternatives.
Even if they don't match the fashion brand dollar for dollar, that's the nuance. Expensive isn't wrong. Expensive without justification is what costs you. The accessory market runs on emotion. It runs on the idea that a well-chosen wallet, a serious watch, a pair of frames that looks like they belong in a different decade, these things say something about who you are and what you value.
And that instinct isn't wrong. What you carry does say something. The question is whether it says, I understand quality or I understood marketing. After today, you know the difference. If this changes how you look at an accessory before you buy it,
this channel does exactly what it's supposed to do. We analyze so you don't have to figure it out the hard way. Stay with us.